what do you think are the main difficulties that these stakeholders face? For instance, the batteries and EV OEM.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's worth to make a stop here for on the production side, because on the in this aspect, some of the batteries, for example, that are produced by the OEMs, they are still relatively good to be used in other applications, but since they don't pass the criteria at the moment, usually they are sent to recycling. And recycling obviously is a good solution if you want to recover the materials, but some of these OEMs, they would prefer to either by themselves or with the support of partners make a better use, a second use of these batteries. And if you are a battery OEM, then sometimes when during the production of modules, you would like to dismantle the battery module into cells, and some of these cells could be used again. Unfortunately, it is not very easy to dismantle the battery modules because in some cases you use different connectors such as glue, which are difficult to disassemble, and that's one of the technical solutions that partners struggle with. Another problem, more let's say on the EV OEM side, is that when you have the pack or the electric vehicle pack, then some companies that repurpose batteries, they request some specific information about the state of health of these batteries. And the EV OEMs, they have very good tools to estimate the state of health. However, they don't always want to share all the details from the battery management systems because they consider some of these data as their intellectual property, which is obviously makes sense. But according to the new regulation, starting in August 2024, these OEMs will have to share this data. We'll have to share this data with the battery owners and with independent operators. That's why another challenge here is that to find a way in which EV OEMs could safely share the data about state of health with the owners of batteries and independent operators.
And do do you think that the owners do you think that the recycles or even other companies in repurposing they they have problems of collection as well from the owners of the cars?
Certainly, this is another, let's say, pool of issues about the collection. You may know that the EV OEMs, they would like to they would prefer to have control over where the batteries are, how many, when they will come back, and they try to do so at the moment. Some OEMs they prefer to have agreements with different companies such as the logistics operators, the battery collectors, car dismantlers, to bring these batteries from the market and then either send them to recycling or to repurposing. However, in practice, we can see that there are quite many electric vehicle batteries which are not under control of the EV OEMs anymore. You can see quite many independent car dismantlers, which after dismantling these batteries from the car, so extracting the battery from the car, they are simply selling these batteries on the popular marketplace platforms. which for the EV OEMs can be an issue, and sometimes can be an issue also from the safety perspective, because if you are not qualified enough to handle high voltage batteries, then you are not in the best position to guarantee the safety, its safety in the operation. That's why here I think it's important to find ways to make sure that only the qualified operators they can handle the batteries. They can also participate in making deals between let's say the end of life manager and the new owner of the battery. Unfortunately, the new battery regulation also proposes several solutions to this. For example, there are quite specific rules in what you need to do to change the status of the battery from the waste battery to the repurposed battery. So hopefully such rules will help. And also there are some market players, some aggregators of batteries, which develop marketplaces which are designated to handle EV batteries. And I think also solutions like this will help this market to, let's say, be safer, more efficient, and bring more value.
Yes, I think that's very true, because it also helps to have this to regulate on the extended producer responsibility, where who is the responsibility and how the end of life can be better used in its second life after that. Otherwise, there's not really any incentive or any responsibility to handle the end of life of the batteries of in the electric vehicles once the state of health doesn't allow to continue usage in the cars anymore. So
and that's a very good point, Kingman, because like you rightfully mentioned, all the producers of batteries and electric vehicles, they have this extended producer responsibility. And what does it mean? It means that they carry the costs of handling the battery at the end of life. And these costs can be either shifted to, well, not shifted, but it can be either delegated, let's say, this responsibility to producer responsibility organizations, which handle the batteries for producers, and then they give an invoice every year. Hey, this is this amount of batteries that we've collected. We do the reporting and you pay us. And this is one way. But of course, there is another way where you don't send the batteries to recycling yet, but you shift this extended producer responsibility to the new producer of the battery, which is the second life repurposer, for example. And in this case, the new regulation also explains how this can be done, and the way it can work now is that the original battery producer and the repurposer, they can agree through some business agreement what will be the ratio of costs in the extended producer responsibility that they cover. So it's not always that the repurposer has to agree that, okay, I take 100% of the costs to recycle the battery at the end of life. No, it can be that, okay, we make some estimation and the repurposer says in the agreement that the OEM will still have to carry some costs.
Mm-hmm. Do you mind to explain that the current challenges is now the cost is mainly on the companies involved in recycling or repurposing as of now?
Um, as of now, usually the repurposing companies, they carry all the costs related to extended producer responsibility. This is kind of the agreement by default, because if you if you are a producer of stationary storage, for example, where you use second life batteries, then obviously the original producer of electric vehicles, they cannot really track where you sell your products. That's why at the moment it's usually the repurposer. And it makes sense, but in the future, the costs of reverse logistics may be changing, and it's good to have some sort of framework which tells you what kind of costs you have to cover, and then depending of let's say the business profitability, you can divide between the two producers the APR costs.
Yeah, I think that would make it a bit more efficient in the future in that sense, especially where it also links back to the EVs owners, where should they send the battery to? Because as of now, I believe that if the companies work in repurposing, they might want to source those batteries based on their ability, like they know perhaps where to go to source the end of life of the EVs batteries, but the owners might not know where to send it back to. Do you think that's one of the problems now?
Yes, I think it's quite an interesting area again, especially because many in these discussions, usually the industry kind of forgets about the users. No one talks about the EV owners, and it doesn't make sense because you own the battery for 10 or even 15 years, and just like with the combustion vehicles, these EVs, they don't belong to just one owner. If you're not happy with your car, uh, the customers, the owners, they replace it. They sell it to a new user. So during the lifetime of one EV battery, there can be, let's say, 4 or 5 different owners of the batteries. And then um, the battery reaches its end of life in several scenarios. Either the producer organizes a recall of these batteries, and then because of some manufacturing defect that only appears after several years of usage. And in this case, the user, the owner, they usually come back to the dealership, which you can also see on the map, and the dealership then they send further the battery, for example, to the recycler or to the OEM to make some replacements or repairs. And this is one scenario. Another scenario is when unfortunately you have an accident and the car is no longer it can no longer be used, and then usually the insurance company comes, they put your car on the lorry and then they usually send it to the car dismantler when it is dismantled into various pieces. And another scenario is that you are simply not happy with the range of your car because the battery naturally degrades over time and with cycles, so with your kilometers. And in this case, you can either also ask for replacement of the battery, but more commonly you sell the whole car to a new user, and then if the last user is not able to sell the car anymore, then the car has to be crushed at the dismantler. So then this car is transported to the dismantling station. The battery is extracted from the car, and some other components are extracted, the ones that can be reused. The rest of the car is crushed, and some parts of it are recycled, while the battery, it is sent to the recycling facility, or if possible, to the repurposer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite an interesting part here, because in order to know where to send this battery, you have to be able to make a proper assessment and decide if this battery is still good enough. And quite often these car dismantlers, they don't know this because they don't have the right tools. Quite often they don't have any more connection to the OEMs, which is another issue that some members of the industry have.
That's very interesting to know, because to know that the many of the batteries now ends up in the car dismantler instead of it goes back to the car manufacturers or even the battery manufacturers, where they manufacture it and they have a better idea of what it is and how is it supposed to handle at a later stage. Yeah, because from what I understand, it's like car dismantler might not have a lot of knowledge, where there are different car brands, different batteries brands, and yeah, so what has been used inside and how to dismantle it and where it should go after.
Exactly. And quite often these car dismantlers, they know several partners. Sometimes they just make a call, hey, to the partner that can use this battery. Again, hey, I have the battery from the brand XYZ. The model is this. Do you want to buy it? And they negotiate the price.
Okay.
And these kind of agreements, fortunately, they can be facilitated a bit better with some platforms. But what's important to mention here is that I believe, and this is kind of supported by the claims of the OEMs, that the car producers will try to make more agreements with car dismantlers to collect these used batteries from car dismantlers and have more control over this decision between either first reuse or directly go to recycling.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting to know. Especially where now we need to work towards more circularity of these batteries value chain. So I think there are different issues and it has to be addressed somehow. I mean, in the near future.
Yeah, I think these issues, some of which are maybe not very obvious, they are now under let's say works of various startups, research groups, and there are many great initiatives which I think will help to improve these reverse logistics. And maybe just to close the loop of the battery, we can just speak a bit about the last part, which is the recycling. I already mentioned that the new regulation implements the targets for higher efficiency of recycling, and it's important to understand that there are two types of processes here as part of recycling. First, the battery arrives to the pretreatment plant, where you have to dismantle it. So take out the cover of the battery, then discharge the battery, discharge the battery modules, and usually these battery modules are then crushed in a shredder, and they are turned into black mass. This black mass is the mass of these valuable metals, mostly metals, while the other output of the pretreatment plant are other materials such as the casing, cables, and so on, which can be also reused or recycled with a different, let's say, process. But coming back to this black mass is then transported to a facility which can perform hydrometallurgical recycling or pyrometallurgical recycling. And these are processes that allow you to transform this black mass, which is a mixture of different materials, to transform it into specific materials which are then refined and can be used for new applications, either non-battery applications, or if you have a good enough process, then you can take these materials and sell it to active materials supplier, which can use this and put it back again in the loop.
That's very interesting. So this is actually one of the ways to close the loop of this value chain to achieve this circularity where the end of life actually comes back to a new battery pack, or to be used in a new battery in the electric vehicles.
That's it. And the targets for 2030 at the moment are in the order of 10-15% for the key metals, such as lithium, cobalt, and nickel. And they are pretty low because fortunately the Commission is aware of the situation where there are too many batteries produced compared to the batteries that are coming back. If you look into the future, for example, in 30 years, we may start actually reaching the moment when the demand for electric vehicles reaches, let's say, more or less the levels which are not changing. And in that case, the batteries which are coming back could be used in higher percentages to provide the supply of materials for this constant, let's say, demand for EVs.
That's very interesting. And do you mind to share a little bit about how do you actually identify those challenges? Because I understand that you actually created this game where you work with other people to also look into the challenges, where I think is very interesting and helpful in some ways.
Sure. Yes, indeed. We recently we've developed a new type of quite a unique, I think, workshop, which is called the battery circularity game. Since in our various assignments with companies, but also research and innovation projects such as Batteryverse project, we identified basically all the stakeholder types which are involved in the reverse logistics of EV batteries. We interviewed all types, which you can see here on the map. That's why we know what are their main challenges related to battery circularity, what are their roles, and their key assets and skills. And we thought, hey, actually, this is something that people are not very aware of. And we've got some requests also from various partners that they would like to understand a bit better how to make partnerships with different players. So we came up with this concept of a game, which is pretty short, just 60 minutes, but very interactive workshop where you become one of the stakeholders. You receive your stakeholder card. And this is the stakeholder card of a company which you are not in the real life. That's why you have to put yourself in the shoes of another stakeholder. And your goal is to solve 4 specific circularity challenges of your company while making profit. You get some, let's say, fake monopoly money. You get several banknotes that you can use to make deals with other participants of the workshop. And by doing so, you learn how to, let's say, operate in this area of battery circularity, how to make good partnerships, how to also have a profitable business model. And last but not least, how to solve the issues that you have in your day-to-day business.
Okay, so those stakeholders that you identify is it those materials, raw material supplier, battery OEM? Is it like in bold here?
Yes, all these stakeholders, these are more than 20 stakeholders. Each of these stakeholders has a card where you have the role explained, the key assets, and also your circular challenges. And you don't see the cards of other players, you just see yours. But by talking to during this 1 hour, by talking to other stakeholders, you are learning what their needs are, what you can offer to them, and what deal you can make, basically.
That's very interesting. And what are the conclusion that you are able to draw, like short ones, just a short one, like the
Sure.
main challenges, for instance, from these games, that what are the results so far, and maybe what are the better collaboration or partnership that is more viable in this batteries value chain?
I think there are several points that we also always ask for feedback. Our participants, so far I think we've played with around 70 different participants, and the most insightful is that for the first time you actually try to think like your potential customer. This may sound quite easy, but in reality, you can only start thinking as your potential customer or partner if you become one. And that's why this role-playing aspect is important. And one example is that the company that usually repurposes batteries from electric vehicles realized that they can also work with operators of micromobility. You cannot see this one on this map, but we have it in the game. uh, these electric kick scooters. Actually, in the shared mobility, the lifetime of the battery is much shorter because you use the battery more intensively. That's why these operators of micromobility, shared micromobility, they have to replace the batteries every second, third year.
Okay.
And there are quite many batteries on the market. And this company that we played with, they thought, hey, actually, I have to contact these operators because we just thought about electric vehicles, but we can also work with a different type of customer.
And perhaps also other type of stakeholders in this value chain, like maybe battery OEM or EV OEM, or mostly dismantle as well.
Yes, and also many stakeholders, many participants, they realized the value of data that they request. They understood that sometimes you have to pay to get access to data, especially when you work with OEMs. So there are quite many new business models that base on the fact of data exchange. You probably have heard about this battery passport concept, and which is already a measure in the new regulation. So I think this will revolutionize the way of circular handling of batteries, because you will have access to more information about the battery, make more informed decisions. And I think it's a very important development to not to be missed.
Yeah, that's very true. I think maybe like you say, one of the main challenges now is the information that they do not have access to. They do not know what are the materials used, maybe, or how many percentage and everything. So now hopefully, yeah, the battery passport can solve most of the issue in as we discussed earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, it won't solve the issue itself. Of course, the stakeholders will have to use it. It may be challenging. I think it will be quite a slow process.
Yes.
But by doing projects together, by collaborating, I hope that we can, first of all, show what tools are available on the market to do it, and then maybe more importantly, to show some business cases, uh, how to share data in a way that gives value to both sides of the partnership. And this is something that we also at Bax and Company are we work on, trying to find circular business models that will help both sides of the deal to be, happy with the effect, and also be more efficient with the costs.
Yeah, that's very true. And yeah, I think we should end this session, and thank you so much for the discussion. And I think you brought a lot of interesting perspective from the companies that you dealt with and the different stakeholders as well, especially the chart on the batteries value chain and how different stakeholders can work more effectively in the future. Yeah.
Sure, no worries. Thanks again for the invitation, Kingman. And if anyone has any questions, drop me a line on LinkedIn, and let's talk.
Sure, thank you so much.